Hey, beautiful people. Ready for some fun English? I am Jack.
And I am Emma. So happy you are here with us today.
Emma, I want to ask you something before we start, and I need you to be honest.
Okay, that sounds a little scary, but go ahead.
When you first started learning English, what was the biggest mistake you made? Not a grammar mistake, a learning mistake, the wrong approach.
Oh, that is actually a really good question. Let me think. Okay, I think my biggest mistake was waiting until I felt ready to speak.
What do you mean exactly?
So I spent months studying, reading, listening, learning vocabulary, but I did not speak because I kept thinking, I'm not ready yet. When I know enough words, I will start.
And when did you feel ready?
Never. I never felt ready. I kept moving the line. First, I thought, when I know 500 words. Then, when I know 1,000. Then, when my grammar is better.
And meanwhile, no speaking at all?
0. And after 6 months of studying, I still could not have a basic conversation because I had never actually practiced talking to anyone.
That is such a common mistake, and I made a very similar one, but in a different direction.
What was yours?
I did the opposite. I spoke too early, too much, without ever checking if what I was saying was correct.
And that caused problems?
Big problems. Which is our topic today. Common mistakes when learning English. Not grammar mistakes, learning mistakes. The mistakes people make in how they study and how they approach the language.
Because those are often the most damaging and the ones nobody really talks about.
And we've both made plenty of them.
So many. Okay, let's get into it.
You go first.
So let's start with mine. Waiting too long to speak. I think this is one of the most common mistakes out there.
Yes, and it comes from fear. We talked about this in our episode about being afraid to speak English. People avoid speaking because they're scared of making mistakes in front of others.
Wait, avoid. Can you explain that word for our listeners?
Oh, yes. So, avoid means you stay away from something on purpose. You choose not to do it. Like, imagine you had a bad experience at a dentist once, and now every time you need to go, you find a reason not to. You avoid it. You stay away.
So, when learners avoid speaking, they choose something safer instead. Grammar exercises, flashcards, listening practice.
Because those feel easier, less exposed, less scary.
But the problem is, you can only get better at speaking by actually speaking, not by studying about speaking, not by preparing forever.
And every day you avoid it, the fear gets a little bigger. The speaking feels a little harder.
Because you build it up in your head, you imagine it will be terrible, and then when you finally try, the pressure is enormous.
And it is not perfect. Of course it's not perfect, and then you feel bad, and you want to avoid it again.
A cycle, a very frustrating cycle.
And the only way to break it is to start before you feel ready, to speak badly on purpose.
Speak badly on purpose? I love that.
Yes, say the wrong word, use the wrong tense, keep going anyway, because every bad conversation teaches you more than another week of studying alone at home.
And most people you talk to, they just want to understand you. They're not grading your grammar.
They're thinking about their own day, not your prepositions.
Exactly.
Okay, my mistake. And this one embarrasses me a little even now.
Good. Tell me everything.
So I started speaking English early, which is not the mistake. The mistake was I was saying certain words completely wrong and nobody corrected me.
Why not?
Because people understood me. The communication worked. So they did not say, "Actually, you are pronouncing that incorrectly." They just answered and moved on.
And you kept saying the wrong thing.
For a long time, the word I remember most, I was saying comfortable as come for table.
And it is comfortable.
Yes, and I said it wrong for maybe 2 years, in conversations, in meetings, in front of colleagues.
2 years, and nobody said anything.
Not one person, until one day a friend very gently said, "Oh, by the way, it's actually comfortable." And I felt a very specific kind of embarrassed.
Because you had been doing it for so long.
In front of so many people, and I had no idea.
But in a way, that also shows something positive. People understood you. You were communicating.
True, but the mistake stayed with me because nobody corrected it early, and that's the lesson. Ask for corrections. Actively, do not wait for people to volunteer them.
Because most people are too polite to correct you unless you ask directly.
So ask. Say, "Please tell me if I say something wrong." Give people permission.
And most people are actually happy to help when you ask.
Most people, yes.
So the lesson is, always ask for feedback. Never assume people will volunteer it.
Okay, listeners, quick pause here. If you enjoy this podcast, please subscribe so you don't miss our next episodes. We put out new ones regularly, and we would love to have you back every time.
Thank you so much. Okay, I want to talk about another very common mistake, the translation mistake.
Oh, this one is big.
So, a lot of learners, when they want to say something in English, they think of the whole sentence in their own language first, and then they translate it word by word into English.
And the result sounds very strange because languages do not work the same way. The word order is different. The sentence structure is different.
And some expressions do not translate at all. You translate them literally, and the meaning is completely wrong, or it sounds like something no real person would ever say.
I did this so much at the beginning. I would build a sentence in my head in my language, then translate each word, then say it out loud, and people would look at me a little confused.
Because it was technically understandable, but it felt unnatural, like a textbook sentence, not a human sentence.
And the solution is learn chunks, not just words. Whole phrases, the way native speakers actually say things.
So instead of learning the word instead and the word of separately, you learn the whole phrase instead of as one unit.
And instead of each word in "how are you doing," you just know the whole phrase. You never translate it. It just comes out.
Because your brain stores it as one thing, not 4 separate words.
And we talked about this in our episode about training your brain to speak in English. The goal is to stop translating and start thinking directly in English.
Which takes time, but it starts with learning phrases instead of just individual words.
Phrases first, always.
That's such a simple fix, but it changes everything.
It really does. Okay, one more mistake?
Yes, one more mistake, and this one I think is very common, especially at the beginning.
What is it?
Studying too many things at once instead of going deep into one good method.
Oh, yes, the 5-app problem.
Exactly. So some learners have 5 different apps and a grammar book and a vocabulary list, and they follow 4 English teachers online, and they jump from one thing to another.
20 minutes here, then switch. 10 minutes there, then switch again.
And nothing goes deep. Everything stays on the surface, and at the end of the day, they feel like they studied a lot, but they can't remember what they actually learned.
Because the brain needs repetition. It needs depth, not 5 different things done once.
One good method, done every day, goes much deeper than 5 different methods done randomly.
And this connects to what we talked about in our habits episode. Build one habit, small, consistent, every day.
Not a different thing every day, the same thing, getting better at it every time.
And the reward, which was our word from last episode, the real reward comes from depth, not from switching between apps.
Exactly. You feel the real reward when you understand something you couldn't understand before, not when you try something new every day.
Depth over variety, every time.
And I want to mention one more mistake because I think it's the most emotional one.
What's that?
Comparing yourself to other learners and feeling bad because someone seems better than you.
Oh, that one really hurts.
It does. You're in a class or you see someone online who speaks so fluently and you think, why is my English not like that? What am I doing wrong?
But you don't know their full story. How long they studied, what opportunities they had. Maybe they lived in an English-speaking country for years. Maybe they started as a child.
You're comparing your beginning to their middle or their end.
And that's never fair. We talked about this in our episode about English levels. Your progress is your own. It doesn't move at the same speed as anyone else's.
And comparing doesn't help you improve. It just makes you want to avoid studying altogether.
And we keep coming back to avoid, because avoiding is the root of so many learning problems.
You avoid speaking, you avoid mistakes, you avoid discomfort, and all of that avoiding keeps you right where you are.
The only way forward is through the uncomfortable parts, not around them.
Every single time.
So today, we talked about waiting too long to speak and how avoiding makes the fear bigger each time.
Jack said comfortable wrong for 2 years in front of many people.
Thank you for that, yes.
The translation mistake, thinking in your own language and translating word by word.
Studying too many things at once instead of going deep into one good method.
And comparing yourself to other learners and feeling bad about the gap.
All of these are common. All of them are fixable, and none of them mean you're bad at English.
They just mean you're learning, and learning includes making mistakes, even learning mistakes.
Especially those.
Okay, bonus tip.
Yes. So listeners, here is one small thing for this week. Pick one mistake from today. Just one. The one that sounds most like you.
Maybe it's avoiding speaking, or using too many apps, or comparing yourself to others.
And this week, do the opposite. Just once. One small step in the other direction.
If you avoid speaking, say one thing in English to a real person this week. Just one.
If you use too many apps, pick one, delete the rest for now, and use that one every single day.
If you compare, write down one thing you can do in English today you couldn't do 6 months ago.
One mistake, one opposite action this week. That's all.
Small, but real, and it actually works.
And listeners, don't forget our word from today.
Avoid. Notice what you avoid in your English learning, and then try to do exactly that thing, even for just 1 minute.
Because the thing you avoid the most is usually the thing that will help you the most.
Always, without exception.
And that's a good place to end.
All right, one question before we go. What is one learning mistake you have made? Not a grammar mistake, but a learning mistake. How you studied or how you approached English.
Write it in the comments. We want to know. And if this episode helped you, please like it, share it, and subscribe. It really means a lot to us.
Take care, everybody. See you in the next episode.
Bye. Go make some mistakes today. The good kind.